All right, my friends, we just pressed the Let's Go Live button over here. We are trying to get the tubes connected, and we know one of our tubes is broken today. Unfortunately, Rumble is down. It's not just us. It is across the board. I checked their Twitter feed, X feed. Sorry, Elon, don't ban me. And Rumble is not accepting new streams right now. So we are not alive over on Rumble. We'll see if we can get that fixed if it starts to work midway through, but I don't think it's us. I think it's everyone else. I think it's Rumble. All right, anyways, we're connected elsewhere. YouTube's up. What's up, Telegram? Locals is working. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about the Trump trials. And of course, we are on a break from the Alvin Bragg prosecution because that is something that pauses on Wednesdays. They take Wednesdays off for whatever reason, and that is going to start back up tomorrow. And of course, we'll be back for that. But there's still a lot of activity in the other cases. And we're also going to get an update on what's happening there in New York. So to start the day off, we have an update in Florida because there is another document that was unsealed courtesy of Judge Cannon. Eileen Cannon is not Judge Chutkin. And she's been saying, you know, we should see whether or not there's problems in these filings that maybe America is interested about. And of course, we are interested about them. And so she issued an order that is now unsealing a bunch of materials. And we'll go through this one, which is from Trump's motion to get grand jury materials. And he filed this some time ago, back June 2023. And then the indictment came just 4 days later. But we'll reassemble the timeline and we'll see what's inside, because what we find out is what we've already thought has happened is Jay Bratt, who is apparently like 5'2", according to an amazing reporter called Julie Kelly, which just explains everything, doesn't it? He was apparently threatening Stanley Woodward. Now, we had seen smoke about this, but we get the whole fire. We get the whole motion. We get to read through it. It's all unsealed, and it is good. So we'll see what's inside there in that filing. Then we're going to go back over to New York. We got an update on this one because Trump came out and he said, you know, I'm happy to testify. You want me to take the stand? I'm happy to take the stand. Okay, I did nothing wrong, and I'll let you know about it if it comes to that. Now, I don't think he's going to testify. I think that they'll probably reserve that. You know, it exposes him to a bunch of additional liability, but he says, sure, I'll talk about it if you want me to. Now, what happened is we've talked about this Stormy Daniels documentary that she put over there on the Peacock network. Stormy, typical. And Trump is now seeking information about that documentary since, you know, it talks about Trump and this whole saga. And he's saying, interesting. Well, I want to see what she said when the cameras were off. I want to see what they cut from the film. I want to know who is involved in creating this fictional documentary story so we can introduce a lot of that to the jurors, and the jurors can be apprised. Well, Trump asked for a subpoena to go get this material back, and that was denied by Judge Juan Merchan, the Democrat judge whose daughter works for Joe Biden. We also then had Trump now, since he's been bogged down in New York, he's doing Trump diplomacy right there in Trump Tower. And we brought a former prime minister from Japan there to speak to the press and had a little conversation there with Trump right in there. And so we'll see what that looked like. And then, of course, Alina Habba. And she says, these judges, man, they just kind of set everyone up, saying what happens in these situations is judges collude with the media, essentially. They give them these talking points. Judges will say, you're losing your credibility. And then the media says, oh, the judge who has no credibility threatens someone's credibility. We go, okay, great, big deal. Relax. So she'll explain how that all works. And then we're going to get a Fani update. It's been some time, but Trump's defense attorney, Steve Sadow, dropped these filings today, and they were quite good, saying, we got to dismiss 2 counts here, Big Fani. Sorry, your charges are stinky and they have to go. And the problem with these 2 charges is they both reference filings in federal courts. So the defrauding, so to speak, right, the victim of all this crime, of these false filings, those are the federal courts, not the state courts. So the federal courts have jurisdiction over this crime and alleged crime, and the DA in Fannyland doesn't. So we'll see what those two counts look like. We'll see what Steve Sadow, the Georgia Bulldog, has to say about all this. And of course, then we'll hear from you. And so we got a lot to get to, my friends. I'm grateful that you are here and with us. This morning, we had an amazing members only stream over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And we unveiled a very important date that is coming up. And I want to invite you to come join us. If you'd like to attend a watcher meetup in person in Las Vegas at the one and only Trump Tower in Las Vegas, as I said. I was going to say New York. I feel like an announcer here. Well, then come and join us. So here's the plan. Saturday, June 29th. This is not a joke. This is over at watcherlodge.com. International Hotel Las Vegas, a meetup. If you'd like to join, come over to Watcher Lodge. Read this synopsis. RSVP below. June 29th. Yours truly will be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the meetup will happen on the Saturday. I will be there Thursday and Friday as a part of this event, which is called the Speakeasy Mastermind. And so I'm a member of the local chapter of Speakeasy Mastermind in Arizona. We're having an annual event in Vegas. And so if you're a business owner, if you're somebody who likes to go to, networking, marketing events like this, check this link out and you're free to attend. There's guest tickets. And so you can just join up. You can write, this whole thing's a business trip. Talk to your CPA about writing the whole thing off, but you go to a business trip, a business expense, stick around for the watcher meetup on the Saturday and learn something and then come hang out with some fellow watchers. So coming on up Saturday, June 29th, and we'd love to have you. Go show your interest if you want to join us, watcherlodge.com under the community calendar. And there's another event that is coming up. Your boy got invited to speak at this event called Get Trump, called Davos in the Desert. This is also over on the Lodge. This one will be taking place May 21st. It's a virtual event. My understanding is Robert Barnes is going to be speaking there. John Eastman's going to be speaking there. And for some reason, they're saying, hey, can you come, talk to us? I'm sure happy to do that because I got a lot to say, baby. So we're going to do that too. All this on the community calendar, watcherlodge.com. We'd love to see you in person. Come hang out with us. And it should be fun. All right, now, watcherlodge.com, where we do our Membo streams in the morning, our Saturday streams. We have a lot of fun there. We have robertgovea.com, daily newsletter, show reports, PDFs, merch store over there, and of course, Watcher Lodge, which is where we do our Sovereignty Saturdays. And we have our meetup at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. All right, so we'll be grateful to see everybody over there and let us know what you think. All right, so without any further ado, let's get right to it, my friends. New filings unsealed in the Florida classified documents case, and Jack Smith is unhappy about that. Why? Because his prosecutor, the 5'2" Jay Bratt, evidently, as we thought, was threatening defense lawyers, saying if your client doesn't cooperate with us, not only are bad things going to happen to your client, which is a problem, but you, Mr. Lawyer, you who are representing this defendant, you may not get that judgeship that you want so bad here in Washington, D.C. if I have anything to say about it. So threatening a defense lawyer is unethical misconduct. Some people might say obstruction of justice, maybe. Prosecutorial misconduct, maybe a crime in and of itself. And so Trump's defense has been raising this for some time now, and we've seen the smoke surrounding the allegation about this misconduct. But now the motion that alleges it in detail has been unsealed. Thank you, Judge Cannon. Judge Cannon, on April 22nd, issued this order, says, all right, well, here's where we're at now. From the docket, in light of the representations made in Jack Smith's third motion for redactions, right, I've been fighting this for ages. He doesn't want us to see even the allegations, and noting the absence of any defense objection. So Trump says, okay, well, we've got the redactions all cleared up. That's all taken care of. The clerk is directed to unseal. These are ECF numbers, so court record numbers, 101, 115, 116, 118. And when we're looking through these, we go, whoa, 101. That's like early. And it's like a long time ago. We're in the 400s now. So that's early on in the case. Signed by Judge Cannon. And what is that? Well, it's a very early motion that was filed on June 4th, 2023. June 4th, 2023 was before a lot of stuff had happened. So we rewind the clock a little bit. Remember that Trump leaves office January 2021. FBI opens up their investigation March 30th, 2022. Grand jury investigation starts April 26, 2022. We're still in the 22s now. And the grand jury has been going on forever. Okay, we fast forward, and Trump is not indicted until a year later, right? So grand jury, we know the FBI is poking around. Grand jury is cobbling together a bunch of materials to try to go investigate Trump and indict him eventually. But they're also using the power of the grand jury to go investigate everything, right? They're subpoenaing his lawyers and breaking attorney-client privilege. And they were doing a lot of this operating out of D.C., knowing that they were going to bring charges later in Florida. So the whole thing was corrupt, and they were just letting it go on for a long time. Why? So that nobody could see what was happening. Grand jury investigations all happen under the dark of night. They're all behind closed doors. They're sealed normally. We don't get anything about them. So, of course, Jack Smith wants that, right? He can do whatever he wants under the power of the grand jury in D.C. They'll give him power to do anything. Okay, so grand jury starts, and I'm trying to draw a timeline here so we can see why Trump is complaining about this. So 2022 is when the grand jury starts their work. Trump files this motion, as we're going to see, June 4th, 2023. So about 14 months later, he says, all right, look, enough of this. I need to see what's going on in this case because you haven't charged me yet. Then we fast forward, they turn around and they indict him. So that was the Florida indictment. Right. And there was a raid and other things. So let's take a look now at what this filing says. So this has all been unsealed from Judge Cannon, thankfully, bringing this to our attention. You see, it was originally sealed, right? Sealed. And Trump's team has been saying, we have been filing for relief because of misconduct from the DOJ. Now, they brought in Jack Smith, and they said Jack Smith was this independent special counsel, and he was going to do his own independent analysis. And it's not Joe Biden prosecuting Donald Trump. It's not Merrick Garland at all. No, it's Jack Smith. He's a special counsel. He's independent. We kept saying that he's not an independent counsel. Okay, that was dissolved thanks to Congress. So this is somebody who is subject, unless this is a new position, in which case he's not lawful because Congress didn't create this new position. Then he is subject to Merrick Garland, right? Which means Merrick Garland is subject to Joe Biden. So it is Joe Biden. Okay. So they have been raising this stink for a long time. Now, this hit the Florida docket August 11th. So you're going to see this August 11th date, but I want to ignore that for a minute because this is an attachment. It's an addendum. And what they were submitting, this was actually submitted. Let me see if I can just grab the date before we jump into it. Yeah. So you can see this was actually submitted by James Trusty right here, June 4th, 2023. So before a lot of this stuff actually started to materialize, he's saying, you guys have just been dragging your feet on this for a while. Trump's team has been pursuing this. So here's the background. Filed under seal in the District of Columbia and talking about all of the misconduct from Jack Smith and preceding Jack Smith, the other prosecutors who were working on the case, because they just got their briefcases and walked over from the DOJ's office over into the special counsel's office, just picked it up and moved. So Trump's team was saying, all right, listen, we moved this court to disclose transcripts of grand jury testimony of all these people, Margot Martin, Chamberlain Harris, and minutes and other items. They say it's widely recognized that the proper functioning of our grand jury proceedings involve the release of documents. Our grand jury processes function because of secrecy, and there is a tradition of secrecy because the secrecy is endeavored to create impartiality of that body, right? If you don't want a bunch of influences moving the grand jury, which is why we keep it secret, so that they're kind of beyond reach. But what happens if the prosecutor who's presenting to the grand jury is a corrupt partisan hack? So it follows that when the grand jury ceases to function as an impartial body, and instead it serves as an overarching reaching arm of a biased and zealous prosecutor, then the need for the secrecy of this grand jury needs to end. It must yield to preserve the constitutional sanctity of the institution. Now, the Supreme Court has explicitly recognized that the invocation of the grand jury secrecy is not some talisman that dissolves all constitutional protections, like because it's a secret grand jury, you can do whatever you want in there. Saying there are limitations. And President Trump, says the defense, like all other citizens, is constitutionally entitled to an unbiased grand jury. This is a fundamental protection that stems from the recognition that there is a potential for abuse in these proceedings. They're secret. They're ex parte, meaning the defense is not involved. And they're largely under control of the prosecutors. And so even though the grand jury belongs to no branch of the government, the prosecutor exerts significant influence over this. And in exerting this influence, they still may not circumvent their independence by creating conduct that deprives the jury of their judgment. Now, the grand jury and their investigation of the classified documents and other presidential records, we're transitioning to this case now, that were stored at Trump's residence in Mar-a-Lago, this panel of people and this prosecutor has led to a process that has been infected by prosecutorial misconduct and bias. Saying from the inception of its investigation, the DOJ and subsequently the Office of the Special Counsel, because Jay Bratt just picked up his briefcase and his step stool and walked over, have abandoned the professional cooperation and the courtesies typically employed by prosecutors and the defense counsel, and instead have exacerbated the adversarial nature of the proceedings to deprive Trump of his due process. Now, by way of example, President Trump has reason to believe that Jack Smith's lawyers, have made inappropriate and unethical comments in the presence of the grand jury that nobody can see, pressured witnesses to waive their rights, implied culpability upon the rightful invocation of testimonial privileges. People say, I invoke my right to remain silent. And he says, you would invoke your right to remain silent, wouldn't you? Yeah, just that's what criminals do, isn't it? Very interesting. Saying that the grand jury also insinuated to an attorney, this is the one with Nauta's attorney, insinuated to a lawyer that he would increase his odds of a judicial appointment if he pressured his client to cooperate with Jack Smith. See how that goes in D.C.? You want to be a judge, don't you? Why don't you throw your client right over the bridge? Have fun. Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd love to be a judge. Bye, client. I mean, shout out to this attorney, man. And his honesty and commitment to his client. Defense attorneys are pretty amazing. Just saying. So you want to be a judge, don't you? Well, why don't you just make him plead guilty and make up lies about Trump? Just get the hell out of here, okay? Brat, punk. Also, refused to accommodate well-founded requests for brief delays in grand jury proceedings and regularly employed tactics designed to minimize the ability of clients to meaningfully prepare for their testimony with the counsel of their choice. Now, Trump anticipates that he will pursue relief from this court regarding the OSC's abuse of the grand jury process. And to enable him to do so with a fuller record and to prevent injustice, we request that the court order the disclosure of the requested grand jury materials. The undersigned counsel have no objection to any restrictions that you want to maintain on maintaining the secrecy of the transcripts. So here's some background. They say in or about May of 2022, the DOJ impaneled a grand jury to investigate matters related to Trump's documents. And since then, following Garland's appointment of deranged Jack, numerous witnesses have been subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury. And they went after everybody. Employees of the Trump organization, former Pence people, former White House staffers. They went after Secret Service agents. They went after Mar-a-Lago, groundskeepers, maids. They went after the maids at Mar-a-Lago. They went after at least 4 of President Trump's attorneys. These people are maniacs. This was a duly elected president who left office. and has lawful authority to the documents as the president. And they were trying to turn and flip maids. People are sick. Now, from its inception, says Trump's defense, this investigation has been tainted by prosecutorial misconduct. On August 24th, attorney Stanley Woodward, August 24th, who represents Walt Nauta, met with Jay Bratt, one of the lead prosecutors in this matter at the DOJ. Lawyer goes to meet with the prosecutor. Very common, happens all the time. This was the first time that Mr. Woodward had ever met with Mr. Bratt, but upon Mr. Woodward's arrival at Main Justice, he was led to a conference room where Mr. Bratt awaited what appeared to be a folder containing information about Mr. Woodward. Oh, nice to have you here. You're talking about your client. Well, I happen to have this file about you. Nice of you to be here. Mr. Bratt thereupon told Mr. Woodward, the government prosecutor told the defense lawyer, he said, I didn't consider you to be a, quote, Trump lawyer. He said, I was unaware. He says, actually, I was made aware, I don't know how Bratt said this, but I was made aware that you had been recommended to Joe Biden for an appointment, wow, to the Superior Court for D.C. Wow. So someone recommended you to Joe. But Bratt followed up with the words to the effect of, I wouldn't want you to do anything to mess that up, That position's a pretty nice position. Superior Court Judge Joe Biden, he has to take a look at those. And it would be a real shame if your client didn't cooperate and you messed that up. What a shame. Now, therefore, Mr. Bratt told the defense attorney, said, one way or another, your client is going to be giving up his lavish lifestyle. No more private planes or golf clubs for him, man. And he encouraged Mr. Woodward to persuade Mr. Nauta to cooperate. He said, you better get in there and you better tell your client to cooperate with us or you're not going to be a judge. And Stanley's like, what are you talking about, dude? Relax. To cooperate with the government's investigation. And this was prior to the appointment of Jack Smith. So Mr. Woodward, they say, this is ridiculous. This guy's been a long-standing, extremely professional, upstanding officer of this court. And Mr. Bragg's statement that there was a suggested quid pro quo, or even a threat intended to cause Mr. Woodward to persuade his client to cooperate with Mr. Bratt is offensive. In other words, what we heard is play ball, Stanley, or you have no chance of becoming a judge, not in my jurisdiction. Now, under such circumstances, it is appropriate for the court to ease the secrecy protections that are typically afforded in these cases so we can determine if similar egregious behavior has made its way into this unprecedented investigation, particularly regarding the testimony of Mr. Nauta. Now, further troubling gamesmanship, this is Trump's defense team, continued behind closed doors of the grand jury room after the appointment of Jack Smith, created with Attorney General Garland's appointment of Jack Smith in November of 2022. Let's talk about some examples of this. During grand jury testimony of Tim Parlatore, who is a former Trump attorney, one of President Trump's attorneys, no longer, was an order to show cause prosecutor. I'm sorry, that is not OS. That's old programming kicking in there. The Office of Special Counsel Prosecutor repeatedly attempted to force Mr. Parlatore into disclosing information protected from disclosure by attorney-client privilege, right? So he's a lawyer. He says, I can't tell you that. That's protected by attorney-client privilege. He says, no, it's not. No fewer than 45 times did Jay Bratt, did his prosecutor, did they ask questions of Mr. Parlatore about his communications with Trump? 45 times. Now, with those other members of the legal team, it didn't work. and the team's legal strategy and work product. They wanted information about this. Now, each time Mr. Parlatore invoked privilege on behalf of Trump, Bratt followed up by implying that he was refusing to tell the grand jury what he had a right to know. Okay, so all these jurors are sitting there. Think of it like a courtroom. It's like a trial happening. Tim Parlatore is up on the bench asking him questions. So what did Trump say to you when you said this? Or what did Trump say about that? What did you say to him? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't talk about that. That's attorney-client privilege. That's attorney-client privilege. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Bratt, Mr. Government. That's attorney-client privilege. He's a lawyer, and a pretty good one. So he's invoking, and he knows what he needs to do. And so Jay Bratt turns around, comments on this to the jurors. So you're not answering. You're not going to provide any testimony to the grand jury about why other locations. You're not going to tell them why the storage units and Trump Tower and the Flagler office were not searched. So you're not going to give it to them? What they're here, what they have a right to know. Oh, so you're a bad guy, right? Kind of beating them up in front of the grand jury. During one exchange in which Mr. Parlatore refused to answer a question on privilege grounds, the government loser prosecutor said, if the former president's so cooperative, well, why hasn't he allowed you, Tim, Mr. Parlatore, to share his conversations with the grand jury today? If he's so innocent and cooperative, it's so reprehensible. Where is the presumption of innocence? He knows better than this, right? He's a government prosecutor. This is absolute misconduct. The fact that this is, it wasn't laughed out of here is just ridiculous. This implied that if Trump had nothing to hide, Mr. Parlatore should willingly waive his client's constitutional rights. So a government prosecutor is basically demanding that another defense lawyer or another lawyer for Trump defending Trump against this crap, if he does his job that he has sworn an oath to do, that his whole license relies on, to his clients, that is an implication of Trump's guilt. Oh, so he has something to hide. He's not being cooperative. You're hiding the ball from these nice grand jurors here today. On a number of occasions, Jack Smith's lawyers have been abusive in their treatment of witnesses who also appeared before the grand jury, particularly those who are current or former employees of Trump or the Trump organization. Man, if they were mean to the maids, I'm going to lose it here. If they abuse them, oh, big problems. The Department of Justice and the special counsel have continuously manufactured a false sense of urgency, compelling witnesses to appear and testify on an unreasonably expedited basis. You better be here tomorrow, 1 or 2 days notice. And Jack's attorneys have rebuffed the defense counsel's request to delay witnesses' appearances, so regardless of various circumstances. So for one example, this prosecutor called Brett Reynolds, he balked at delaying the grand jury appearances of several witnesses that Stanley Woodward represented. And guess what? Mr. Woodward suffered a compound fracture in a motor vehicle accident days prior to the witness's scheduled appearance. Okay, Stanley Woodward, who doesn't get bribed off by Jay Bratt, and Jay Bratt tried to get him to turn his client into him, basically. Woodward goes out and gets into a car accident, says, can I please, I have a compound fracture, which is a pretty serious one. I think that means you got bone popping out. Is that right? Rather than accommodate Mr. Woodward's request for a brief extension of time, Mr. Reynolds callously asked him, oh yeah, your bone's popping out of your leg. Yeah, right. What are you going to come up with next week? Now, as this court's aware, Mr. Woodward has had to seek relief from this court with scheduling witnesses' appearances. Yeah. Put some duct tape on it, okay? Get your butt in here. This is about Trump. We don't care. Represented witness Chamberlain Harris, a young assistant administrator at Mar-a-Lago, sounds like a nice person, turned over a laptop to Jack Smith, but declined upon advice of counsel to give her computer password since the laptop belonged to her employer. Okay, so Chamberlain, she is now getting a subpoena. And she gives him the laptop, doesn't give them the password, but rather than engage in communications with the lawyer or to get a search warrant because it's not her laptop, Jack Smith's attorney told Miss Harris, who lives in Florida, that if you don't turn over the password voluntarily, we're going to be compelled to provide it to the grand jury. You're going to be compelled to provide it to the grand jury in Washington, D.C. So give us the password or you're coming to Washington and you're going to do that in person within 48 hours notice and you're going to tell it to the grand jurors under a judge's gavel. So Miss Chamberlain, recognizing the futility of her situation, she's represented by a lawyer. It sounds like they went around the lawyer. Acquiesced to the ultimatum, turned over the password. Nice people. Jack Smith's office also forced Trump's aide, Margot Martin, a Florida resident, to appear in Washington with only 72 hours notice. They refused to delay Miss Martin's appearance to allow her to retain newly retained counsel to even have sufficient time to consult with her new lawyer before the appearance. Also, this guy, Carlos de Oliveira, who's ultimately been charged, was also represented by John Irving. And Irving agreed to image the cell phone and give it over to the special counsel. Now, despite that agreement, Jack Smith's thugs showed up at de Oliveira's home. They had a seizure warrant. They took the cell phone. So lawyers are acting in good faith. Prosecutors just show up like thugs, literally, and just take the property. Even after the seizure, Jack Smith's attorneys demanded that Mr. Irving provide them with the results of his privately conducted forensic analysis. Absolute maniacs. Now, the grand jury investigation, they say, has, at the time of this filing, lasted a year. They're getting tired of it. Numerous witnesses have been compelled to testify. It's unclear how much longer the investigation, how many more witnesses are going to be compelled to appear. And it is against this troubling backdrop that we want to see what is inside these materials. We need to get inside this because there are numerous instances of prosecutorial misconduct. And we need to know whether we're filing additional motions to address this. Here, Trump offers numerous concrete allegations of prosecutorial misconduct here. They pressured Tim Parlatore to give privileged information before the grand jury. They said that him not doing that means Trump's guilty. They forced a password out of a woman or else she had to come and testify. This dude breaks a bone with a compound fracture. What are you going to come up with next week, Stanley? Break your other leg? They're continuously making claims that attorneys are conflicted, but never put it on the record. Gave this woman, Margot, only 72 hours to show up, seized this guy's cell phone, and forced Mr. Woodward's, or pressured him to force his client to flip or else he'll lose his judgeship. Sick people. So these snapshots demonstrate an alarming pattern of behavior by the department and Jack Smith. Now, of particular concern is the risk that these vignettes are forming only the mere tip of the iceberg on this story. As of now, undersigned counsel has only been provided with one grand jury transcript, just one, the one that memorializes the questioning of Tim Parlatore. So even in the absence of additional transcripts, a disturbing pattern has become clear here. Perhaps because of the high value of the target, Jack Smith tries to drive a wedge between the witnesses and their lawyers. So given its pattern of abuse, we think it's likely that they're going to continue to do this. And we need great disclosure about all this. They don't need secrecy. The need for secrecy has been brought up before. In fact, we talked about it with Clinton. The court held that statements did not constitute a violation because it's already widespread public knowledge. And so it's similar to what happened with Clinton. A lot of this is public knowledge. And so the cat's out of the bag, okay? The information's no longer secret. So stop allowing them to bury this stuff. Saying Trump has good faith basis to believe that Jack Smith's attorneys have engaged in prosecutorial misconduct throughout their investigation. And our evidence supports that. And so Trump will maintain the materials, saying Trump has demonstrated multiple problems. If you don't give us these materials, we're not going to be able to show that there was misconduct here. So give them to us. Accordingly, Trump requests that this court order that Jack Smith and the DOJ disclose the transcript, signed by James Trusty, June 4th, 2023, before the indictment ultimately dropped. And of course, this was all under seal for a long time now, almost a full year. They didn't want us to see those allegations, right? Jack Smith doesn't want you to know that his little prosecutor, little Jay Bratt, is, bouncing around there in court trying to make Tim Parlatore into a liar for just doing his job, trying to make Tim Parlatore a co-conspirator for just invoking privilege that he's entitled to do. So these people are, as we see, monstrous, right? Doesn't matter if what you think of your opponent. If they have a compound fracture, that's a big problem. You give them a little bit of grace, okay? Sorry about that. Hopefully it heals quickly. You get back on your feet there, Stanley. No, they just mock them. Okay, it shows this is not about justice. These are people with a vendetta. They have been targeting Trump from the very beginning. They tried to cover up their misdeeds, and now Judge Cannon is bringing it to our attention. And so, tremendous news. We're grateful to Judge Cannon for continuing to seal these materials so that we can see the truth of what Jack Smith is doing there in Florida and elsewhere. If this is happening in Florida, it's the same story in the J6 case. And all of the other prosecutors like Bragg, Colangelo, Fani are on the same template. So we're going to be here continuing to cover this and more, my friends. All the Trump litigation, this is the place to get it. We're going to, of course, ask you to subscribe. Very much appreciate that so that we don't miss you. Thanks for liking this video, for inviting a friend or family member to come over and join us. We got some great links down in the description below, including our members-only community at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, where we do streams in the morning and after parties after our live streams. We'd love to have you here join us because we get into a lot of stuff that we can't get to here, and it'd be great to have you join us. We have the best community ever, and we'll see you inside over on Locals and back here on the next one. All right, my friends, now let's go to New York because we have a ruling from Judge Merchan, and it is adverse to Trump because, of course, that's what this judge does. And so let's jump right to it. Judge Merchan saves Stormy Daniels from an embarrassing subpoena. We remember that Stormy released a documentary on Peacock, which is very appropriate for her. And in that documentary, she has a lot to say about Trump. In fact, it's kind of the story of her life, and nobody really knew anything about her life until she made these allegations against Trump. And now she is trying to capture money on the back of this story and timed the release of this documentary to coincide with the start of the Trump trial. Now, Trump has an interest in understanding what went into the making of this. What got cut out from the film? Did anybody question her? Did anybody challenge her when she said, Trump said this to me or whatever? Was there any other footage of someone saying, oh, that's not how I remember it? Were there creative directors who were involved, who helped to facilitate the fantasy land in Stormy's mind? What was cut out of the film that we'd like to look at to see if there's maybe anything that might be exculpatory to Trump? Okay, a lot of materials. Given the fact that this whole case is evidently about a false business record related to an affair for a non-disclosure agreement, so-called, allegedly. So Trump now has asked for those materials back so that he could investigate them and create a defense around that. Judge Juan Merchan has, of course, denied that. Now, Trump is out. Even though he's being locked down in New York, he is making a lot of media attention, and he was doing basically call-in interviews from New York. He called into a local news show and said, speaking of this Bragg prosecution, I'm perfectly willing to take the stand. If I have to take the stand, willing to do it because I've done nothing wrong here. And here is what that sounded like when he called into 6 ABC today.
Shift to the trial, if we could, for 1 second. Where is your concern level at this point regarding David Pecker's testimony and Michael Cohen's testimony?
Well, Michael Cohen is a convicted liar, and he's got no credibility whatsoever. He was a lawyer, and you rely on your lawyers, but Michael Cohen was a convicted liar. He was a lawyer for many people, not just me.
Are you prepared to take the stand if it comes down to it?
Oh, sure, I'd very willingly take the stand. Right now, if you look at what the legal scholars are saying, and as I said, Jonathan Turley, McCarthy, Dershowitz last night, they say there's no case. There is no case. They brought a case that doesn't exist. And they're right. Other than we have a very conflicted judge. The judge is highly conflicted. He should recuse himself immediately. There's never been a judge so conflicted as this guy. He should absolutely recuse himself immediately. That's all they have. They have a good judge for them. But other than that, they have no case.
All right, so he would be willing to take the stand. I don't think that's going to happen. But you did hear him drop a little comment in there about Michael Cohen, and we're waiting for the judge's ruling on the contempt motion from Alvin Bragg, $1,000 for 10 different posts on truth and other comments. So we'll see if they add that to the list, but we're still waiting for a ruling on that from the judge. But the judge, of course, is adverse to Trump. I think will always be adverse to Trump. His daughter is working for Joe Biden, so why would he be anything else? But this is what the judge came out with in an order denying Trump's request to go get some of that Stormy material, saying, here's my decision in order on Trump's motion to compel and their subpoena. Coming out of Juan Merchan, honorable so-called judge from New York. He says, on April 4th, Trump was arraigned 34 fake charges. On March 18th of this year, Stormy, Trump got a subpoena for her to get the documentary footage. Now, the subpoena also sought material for communications between Cohen, McDougal, E. Jean Carroll, Jessica Leeds, Natasha Stoynoff, right? Because if Stormy Daniels is doing this like Spice Girls documentary extravaganza, this like road trip with the gals, yeah, Trump, we hate Trump. If they're all going to go have their little conversations together and like get a party bus, then Trump should be able to see materials about that. If they're having communications and emails and doing this little cheerleader rally thing, then we should be able to see what's inside. So Trump asked for all of those materials. Now, finally, the subpoena also sought all documents relating to the communications from the Southern District of New York. The reason the judge is doing this, he's going to say, you guys were asking for too much. This is a fishing expedition. Get out of here. So he's going to say on April 8th, Trump filed a pre-motion letter saying we want to file a motion to compel because we got a subpoena. Stormy Daniels was not complying with the subpoena. So he wanted them to compel the compliance with the valid subpoena. And so Clark Brewster, attorney for Daniels, opposed Trump's motion and moved to quash the subpoena. Says he doesn't need all that. Trump filed the motion to compel. The people filed the motion in opposition. And here we are. Judge Merchan, so-called honorable, denies Trump's motion to force Stormy Daniels to give over the material and instead grants Stormy's request to quash, saying the law says that any party may be issued a subpoena and that there's a bunch of rules, right? Here's all the law. He says subpoenas are returnable to the court. Court of Appeals has said that a subpoena is properly quashed when so and so and so, bunch of law happens. And when I decide a motion to quash, here's what I have to look at. And so thus this court must determine, among other things, whether the subpoena seeks the right information. What kind of information? Only used for impeachment of general credibility, biases, prejudices, ulterior motives, and so on. But here it is. We cannot have a simple fishing expedition. Yeah. So Trump's first request is just too broad. Look, it wants everything. It mirrors the same thing that they sent to NBC, which he said, no, you don't get access to NBC's work product. Who do you think you are? What do you think? You're like the government? They can get whatever they want. He wanted tons of information. Okay, all of this was in the subpoena. Stormy, Bragg, Steinglass, Colangelo. That'd be a good one. He says this request is overbroad. You don't get a subpoena for that. It seeks general discovery, so no, you don't get it. Now, Trump also seeks for the time period between April 2023 to present all documents related to communications about the following. Michael Cohen, so from Stormy, did you talk to Cohen, Stormy? Did you talk to Karen McDougal? Did you talk to E. Jean Carroll, Jessica Leeds, or Natasha Stoynoff? He's, no, you don't get to know who she talked about. Who this is a co-witness. This is another so-called victim. And these are other witnesses. It's general discovery. And so you don't need to know, which is insane because obviously you'd want to impeach Stormy Daniels with that. So Karen McDougal testifies. Did you talk to Stormy Daniels? you'd want to, no, I never did. Well, we have Stormy's phone records and we showed that you did. So we're impeaching you with that because you're a liar, whatever. So the defendant third seeks for the time period between April 2018 to present, all documents related to the communications with the U.S. Attorney's Office for New York. Again, it's overbroad. So the judge says, for the foregoing reasons, Trump's motion to compel is denied, and Bragg's and Daniels' motions to quash are granted. So ordered by Judge Juan Merchan. So exactly what you'd expect. Protecting Stormy Daniels, right? Not allowing Trump to pierce and see behind the veil of these conspirators, right? And how they were colluding to create this story. Just says it's overbroad. Not even a lot of analysis on that. Just I have the right to make it narrowly tailored and it's overbroad. Same thing he did with the immunity problem, right? He's finding technicalities to get rid of these. The immunity question was dismissed on timeliness, even though there's law that says that immunity can be brought up at any time because immunity protects you from the process, not specific parts of the process, the entire process. That's what being immune is. So, okay, this is what Judge Juan Merchan did, as we suspected, creating an order, creating a ruling to support their case against Trump to protect witnesses. This was a former prime minister from Japan, last name Aso, who came in to Trump Tower. We know that one of the tactics of the left and the Democrats who are organizing and orchestrating all of these prosecutions is to keep Trump off the campaign trail, keep him bogged down, locked down in one particular location. Wednesdays are days off, so trial's not in session, so he can travel about, but he still doesn't have a lot of days to string together rallies and other events. So what if people come to him? What if Trump Tower diplomacy that we saw in 2016 comes back? This is what it might look like and is happening now.
From Japan, many from Japan.
Oh, really? That's too bad.
A very popular man, you know that, right?
Yes.
Hey, it's great, great.
You too.
You look well.
Yes, how are you doing?
We'll go up, have a little talk. Any questions or anything?
What do you think about the significance of Mr. Hassel coming all over to pay a visit to you at this time around?
Well, he's a highly respected man in Japan and beyond, and somebody that I've liked and I've known through our very dear friend, right, Shinzo. We love Shinzo.
Yes.
And who was a great man, by the way. He was a great, great man. But we got to know each other. We like each other, and we'll be talking about Japan and the United States right now, and lots of other things also. But highly respected. It's a great honor to have him.
What is your message to the Japanese people?
To the people of Japan, it's a great country. You're doing very well. Shinzo was a great friend of mine. He was truly a great man and somebody that we all respected and we really loved. And I miss him greatly. But we really admire the people of Japan. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President?
Say it.
Any plans for tomorrow?
What's tomorrow? You tell me. You tell me.
Johnson is visiting with your students at Columbia.
Well, we have a lot of different things, but what's going on with the colleges and where they're closing Columbia now, I mean, it's just crazy.
It is pretty crazy
Columbia
out there.
should gain a little strength, a little courage, and keep their school open. It's crazy because that means the other side wins. When you start closing down colleges and universities, that means the other side. In Japan, they don't know about that. They don't close. They keep it open, they make it work. And the people running Columbia have made a grave mistake. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so he's being locked down under judicial order. You don't dare miss a day of court, otherwise there'll be a warrant issued for your arrest. And so he's just having people come hang out with him. Interesting. Now, Alina Habba is in the house, and she is going to be explaining to us what's happening with these judges and how they orchestrate little, Hollywood trial type moments. So the media has talking points that they can latch onto and then create a bunch of headlines and news articles to try to embarrass the defense team. Here is Alina Habba explaining how this works.
And it's sad, Carl. that he can't speak about it. The gag orders, the unconstitutionality. I mean, what is more Colombia, Russia? What is more third world? This
Great
is why
point,
we
Alina.
have people pouring into our country, running for freedom because inappropriately, but still doing it because of things like this. And now we're going to be like that. You know, we are that. And it's disgusting. You know, there's so many misguided people out there, and children and college kids, and you're seeing this, and they're just listening to propaganda, listening to, you know, whatever feed they're getting. It's so sad. I can't even tell you, but what happened in court today with the gag order and the anger that you're seeing from these judges, it's very concerning for me.
You now of his own gag order.
The same methodology that judges have done with me and the left-wing media, they'll run with it. They try and make attorneys on the team look or seem like they don't know what they're doing.
Yes,
they
do.
know that the press is in the room, and they kind of play into it. They'll say things, you know, I'll speak to my experience. You know, for the lawyers out there that'll understand, I was putting in something in evidence, and it was impeachment evidence. It wasn't introducing something blindly. And the judge was making comments that would make the press believe that I didn't know what I was doing, saying,
Right.
you know, you need to read the evidence rules. And I was looking at him, and I remember thinking, you're doing this on purpose. You're doing this in front of a jury. You're doing this in front of the press. And the jury is impressionable. To them, the judge runs the court. So they do this intentionally today with Mr. Blanche to say to Todd something like, you're losing credibility because there's no case law on a president being gagged and his First Amendment rights being taken away. Well, let me tell you why there's no precedent on that. There's no precedent on that because it's never happened before. So they're asking us to back up things that you can't because it's never happened in this country. If you want to get precedent, maybe we need to look in Mexico or somewhere else where this would happen. But it doesn't happen in this country. And I think it's intentional. I know it is. They do it. They've done it to me. And they try and berate and ridicule the attorneys. And it's really pathetic.
And it's the same pattern that we saw in Jay Bratt's presentations to the grand jury, right? Get up there. Tim Parlutori takes the stand. He says, I'm invoking attorney-client privilege. I can't answer your questions, obviously. Oh, you can't give these grand jurors information. So you're a part of a conspiracy to cover all of this up. Isn't that fun? Right? So it's the same pattern. And the judges and the courts just let it happen. So, of course, in New York, not a big deal. Judge Merchan is the one leading the charge on that. You go back over to D.C., you think Judge Boasberg there in D.C. was allowing the government to get away with that? Of course he was. So Alina Habba delivering a lot of intelligence as usual. And of course, we're going to be here continuing to cover this. So thank you for subscribing, my friends. We're back in trial starting tomorrow, and we'll look forward to seeing you join us as we go through the X scripts and see what happens when we're back in session. Thanks for subscribing and for liking this video. We're grateful to have you join us. Thanks for inviting someone you know or love to come check out our channel, for sharing a short or a video with them so that they can see what's going on behind the scenes here. Grateful for you being here. Thanks for also checking out some of the links down in the description below. We have a Watcher meetup coming up, links and more information on that. And we also have watchingthewatchers.locals.com, which is our members only community where we do live streams in the morning and shows on Saturday. We'd love to have you join us. We'll see you there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends. And now we got one final segment on the day. And then we'll hear from you. I'm just looking at all these great comments. Yeah. A lot of great comments in the chat out there. Good to see you. Okay, let's get to it. Fani Willis does it again. She botched 2 charges, and Trump's attorney, Steve Sadow, says they have to be dismissed. They have to go. Why? Wrong jurisdiction. Fani is saying that these allegations that involve federal courts should be brought in Fulton County, in her jurisdiction, but they're federal claims with allegedly federal victims. So that means they go to federal court. So why did she charge them in her RICO indictment? Well, because she's incompetent, probably too busy thinking about Nathan's hot dog. So we've got 2 counts that we're talking about. What are they? You see count 15 is one of them. And let's point these out before we jump into Steve Sadow's motions. he says, okay, count 15, bunch of people got charged with this. You see, it is Trump, Giuliani, Eastman, Chesebro, Stallings, Cheely, and the others, all indicted because they say on December 6, 2020, they filed a certificate of the votes of 2020 electors in a court, right? So what court were they in? Oh, let's see. All defendants in count 14, acting as co-conspirators, they mailed it to a federal district court right there, Northern District of Georgia. And that mailing was an overt act. And so this all was going to a federal court. The fraudulent documents went to the feds. Same thing happened here in count 27. Same type of charge. We zoom in on this one. Filing false documents. Where did those documents go? Oh, yeah. Trump versus Kemp, case 1-20 CV, whatever. District Court, Northern District of Georgia. So they submitted this document. Fani said that's illegal. Steve Sadow says, you're in the wrong jurisdiction, lady. That's a federal crime. If you want to charge that, make it federal. Okay. But the feds have not charged it because guess what? It's not a crime. But here is what has been submitted from Trump's defense attorney in Georgia. You know who he is. Steve Sadow, joined by Jennifer Little, all submitting this into Judge Scott McAfee, who didn't have what it takes to make a just decision with the Fani Willis disqualification. But here he has an opportunity to dismiss two charges, counts 15 and 27, based on this case. Saying, all right, Judge McAfee, nice to see you again here. Says President Trump takes this opportunity that's been provided by this court to concisely state why this case called Lonnie requires that these two charges be dismissed. Why? Well, those counts cannot stand because the state of Georgia lacks the authority to criminalize conduct under a state statute here. Here, this law in Georgia involves conduct that's directed at a federal forum, which of course are the federal courts, like we just saw, Northern District of Georgia. But Lonnie, this case decided that a state cannot prosecute a crime. In that case, it was about a perjury crime under a state statute when the only alleged conduct only constitutes an offense against the public justice of the United States when it's within the exclusive jurisdictions of the courts of the United States. Okay, so it involves the courts, not Georgia at all. So consequently, the state of Georgia cannot punish the filing of a false document, allegedly, in federal court. It says it's not your court, as the power to do so belongs solely to the federal government. Makes sense, right? If they're upset about this, why don't they bring charges? Count 15, maybe Jack Smith will. Count 15 alleges a conspiracy to file, and count 27 alleges the actual filing of the false documents. And where the documents go? Northern District of Georgia. They are not in a public record or the court of the state of Georgia. It's all going to the feds entirely. And so according to the rationale underlying this case, because the conduct charge in both courts actually indirectly impacts the federal judiciary of the U.S., it contravenes allegedly federal law, not state criminal law. Sorry, Big Fanny. Thus, it cannot be prosecuted in a state court under a state criminal statute. This holds true even though this law on its face attempts to assert concurrent criminal jurisdiction. We both can have it. No. Under Lonnie, such jurisdiction cannot exist. Sorry. Stated simply under that case, the state has no jurisdiction or authority to enforce federal criminal law, which is precisely what Big Fanny is attempting to do in these counts. And so those counts must be dismissed. Now, we know this works because this is the same principle that was applied in other cases. Ross versus State, which cited this case. In granting, in that case, the defendant's motion to quash, the Georgia Supreme Court in Ross made clear that if the offense charged in the indictment contained in the record was an offense against the public justice of the United States, and it was an offense against the public justice of this state, then our court has no jurisdiction to try it. And so this again is reinforced by another case, Steve Sadow dropping cases. Here, you want another one? Here's another one, which prohibited a prosecution under an ambiguous California statute. California said you can't provide false documents in connection with federal immigration investigations. But in so holding, the Hassan court noted that several federal laws potentially criminalize this in connection with the investigation, which said, the appellate court said, the state can't go after it then, okay? If the manifest purpose is to protect the integrity of the state, right? The state law is to protect the state, not the feds. So it goes to the feds. Our case is no different. Using, which necessarily includes filing false documents in the jurisdiction of the judiciary of the United States, is a federal crime. It's right here, U.S. Code 18-1001 A3 is the statute, 18 U.S. Code. This statute is designed to protect the federal interest against false documents being used in connection with the courts. You file a false document with the feds, boom, 18 U.S. Code. Now, the alleged conduct which the state is attempting to prosecute by Big Fani is addressed by the federal false statement statute, and thus jurisdiction is exclusively vested with the feds. Sorry. Now, as such, the state is without jurisdiction or authority to prosecute President Trump when the plain purpose of doing so is to protect the integrity of federal matters. The state statute at issue here reaches too far, and it may not be applied to criminalize the conduct alleged in counts 15 and 27, and so those counts must be dismissed. Signed by Steve Sadow, and it seems like a pretty good argument to me. Fani doesn't have the jurisdiction over cases that are only pointing to federal harm, federal misconduct, and alleged misconduct. And Fani, I think, will respond, and she'll say these other authorities do give us concurrent jurisdiction. In this case, the feds have not charged that. They'll say because maybe the feds don't, have capabilities to charge, whatever. And so she'll turn it back over to Scott McAfee. Scott McAfee, if his pattern of prior rulings is any guide, he'll probably not do a dang thing about this one either. But of course, very interesting ruling. And a lot of this is just being lodged in now for appeals, looking very unlikely that this case is going to go to trial, at least before the election, and we'll see what happens from there. So another Fani failure, botching 2 charges because, she doesn't have jurisdiction over them. Probably she was busy wandering around Napa Valley. Should have been doing some legal work. But we're going to be here continuing to cover this case and the rest of the Trump trials and litigation happening all over our country, unfortunately. And so we appreciate you subscribing and joining us as we do. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for inviting a friend or family member, someone you know or love, to come over here, check out our channel so they can see what is going on here behind the scenes. We got some great links down in the description below. WatchingTheWatchers.locals.com, our members only community. We'd love to have you join us over there. Streams in the morning, streams on Saturday, and we'd love to have you inside the members only community. WatchingTheWatchers.locals.com. We'll see you over there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. A little bit of a shorter show today, but that means we got plenty of time to hear from you. And let's see what you have to say about this. Of course, 3 segments. We're going to be back in trial in full tomorrow. And we've got Supreme Court oral arguments tomorrow. So I forgot about that. So our plan is to be streaming those somewhere. Here, most likely. But if somebody else is hosting, we may join their streams. We'll figure it out. So we're going to be back here tomorrow, though. So make sure you're checking your tube platforms, wherever it is you watch us, for tomorrow morning, because we're going to be covering SCOTUS immunity hearings. This is the J6 case at the Supreme Court, presidential immunity. It's going to be good. So we'll see you over there. Now, who is here joining us on the day, my friends? Thank you for your amazing support. We had some missed donos from yesterday, and Beth Coddington in the house. Beth, you're amazing. We were talking about movie night and how we might figure that out, and Discord. And we talked about Discord. We've already been nuked from Discord. They said we were harmful and dangerous after J6. And it's true. We are dangerous. That is true. Jack Mack says, set up a Zoom call. What's up, Jack? Says, for a movie night, set up a Zoom call, share the link with your members, show the movie during the call from your computer. And that sounds like a great idea, Jack. But My concern, and maybe it's just the lawyer in me, is copyright and all of that stuff. Now, if I could probably make the argument that it's free, fair use if I'm commenting over it a lot, but I get nervous about that stuff. So I'll have to think about it. But Jack, I appreciate the suggestion. It's a great suggestion. And we're thinking about how to figure it out. Hey, John Allen said, Rob, I haven't missed a show since 2020, man. Whew, I'm always around like a creepy lurker. And I don't think lurkers are creepy at all. In fact, I'm a lurker myself, and I don't think I'm creepy at all. But John, I know what you mean. You're having fun. And I appreciate you being here, John. We got Knox says, obviously Miss Daniels is too stupid to understand that non-disclosure means keep your pie hole shut, which she doesn't know how to do. What's going on? Night Watchman became a membo today. Great to see you, Night Watchman, in the house. Our new membo. Betrayed by corrupt scumbags. Membo for 17 amazing months. The sooner November rolls by, the better. Trump 2024. Our country's kind of in a downward spiral, as it seems. We got FISA, we got foreign aid, broken border, inflation through the roof. It's bad. What's up, Juan Pablo Corsi, our newest supporter? Good to see you, Juan Pablo, in the house. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Another one from Michael Woodward, not Bob Woodward. Bragg trial might go away. Look at the Gateway Pundit. So I think we saw, I think we looked at that this morning, Michael Woodward. You're a membo, so we talked about that this morning on a membo stream. Someone mentioned that up. I don't think that's going to be the basis for it going away. I mean, this judge is not going to dismiss this case. So I think he's going to push it to a verdict, unfortunately. Hey, what's up, G Nels? G Nels in the house. My man, thank you for this. Bringing in Griff MJ, Whoo Lad, Kevin H, Cornelius B, wow, Newbie, Poppycats, Poor Saw, Ginger, Prey, JC the Music Man's in the house, Chris Watt. We got Belt Fed MAGA. Oh, that's good. Belt Fed MAGA. All right. Dankus Crypto, Kim W, Curtis C, Barry, D-Wise here, Diana, PDW, D, Deb Genable, all in the house, courtesy of G Nels. 20 new membos. Thank you, my friend. Very generous of you. Grateful to have you. Hey, Nike No says, I don't see you live on Rumble. I know. Rumble was down today. So I tried to reschedule the live stream multiple times, including 2 minutes before the show, and it was down. They posted about it on their X, so I know they're working hard to fix it. So sorry we missed Rumble. We'll upload the clips as per usual, though. What's up, Father Marin says, smash that like button. Thank you, Father. Thank you for that. Yeah, we appreciate that. Smash that like button now, and it's the right thing to do. Hey, what's up? This old guy says Bratt has a new nickname, Shorty Bratt. Yeah, Julie Kelly says he's like 5'2", which I think is just perfect. Hey, Tony. Hey, Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets. Bringing in 20 new membos. Ronnie S. Woo, we got Quentin D. Bruce R. Rebecca G. Marquand. We got James F. Willie M. Rish G. ZK. Imprimis. Cliff W. Timothy C. Angel. Oil Can Collector. Tim Jones. Michael P. Amy K. M. Silvertree Consortium. And Karen V. All gifted membos courtesy of Tony. Hey, Munkets. A membo bringing in new membos. Tony, thank you for doing that. Hey, Lady Ice on Locals says, what a coincidence. He doesn't cooperate with them against his own client, and then he is in an unfortunate accident. Yeah, nothing fishy here. Very strange coincidence, isn't it? Yeah, like his brakes got cut or something. Scary. Compound fracture does indeed mean the bones and the skin break, with the broken bones meeting the outside environment. That's what I thought it was. Yikes, that's bad. The pain is unbelievable. Yeah, it sounds bad. That sounds awful. And could you imagine a government prosecutor's just like, yeah, whatever. Hey, I can't be there tomorrow. My femur's in the ceiling right now. And he says, shut up. See you tomorrow, loser. Get a wheelchair or you'll go to jail. Lady Ice says, this is not just a clown show. It's a clown mega show. This is also Banana Republic. You're absolutely right about that. Good to see you, Lady Ice. Knox is here, a defense attorney in Texas, says, happy Wednesday, all. As I was watching hours of stupid evidence video, there was really just video of officers driving, buying burritos. They probably shouldn't show their debit cards, etc. You're watching body cams and dash cams. I thought of all the hours upon hours of stupid crap Trump's attorneys must sift through. Poor souls. Yeah, I mean, Knox, the CCTV, we talked a little bit about that motion yesterday, but that CCTV footage from Mar-a-Lago, could you imagine? Like, you can't even get it to work, first of all, and then there's like 100 terabytes of whatever data. Oh, the feds are the worst. And not only that, the J6 case was like 8 million pages of hard copy documents. 8 million pages. We're living in insane times. Which I think was more than Walmart versus Visa, which took 7 years to litigate. Whatever the numbers were. This old guy, good to see you, says, the problem here is Jack Smith spent way too long trying cases at The Hague. His time away from the rights of American citizens permeates his staff. They have no compunctions when it comes to violating God-given rights of Americans. He needs to go back to The Hague where he can run roughshod, slipshod over the Bill of Rights. This is disgusting. Absolutely right, this old guy. I don't think he can. I don't think he cares. Like, that's why he's been brought in. Not appointed, not confirmed by the Senate, just a wrecking ball. And the left's okay with it, right? That's the really scary part is, to them, Trump is such a monster, they're willing to wreck the entire fabric of society to stop him. So it's bad news. Dan says, Rumble has opened. Connect if possible. We'll have to get back there tomorrow since we're now done. But I don't know when it came back on. But thanks for the update, Dan. Lady Ice says, in retrospect, we'll probably say we were already at this point. Those mostly peaceful protests at so many colleges are so reminiscent of the summer of love. Right? Good timing, too. If they hadn't been able to pull off the Great Steal, it would have continued to escalate back then. They had to plan a sabotage Trump from the inside with the TDS Fed employees. Yeah. And they set him up on the way out and they used the government to continue to prosecute him. Yeah. What's up, Kalim? Kalim H. What's up, Kalim? Good to see you. Thanks for becoming a supporter, supporting us over on the YouTubes. Nice to see you inside. Thanks for having us here, being here, joining us. We got, what's up, Sean M. Says, just wondering, will you be live with SCOTUS tomorrow? Really love your show. Thanks for the great info. Thank you, Sean. Very nice thing to say. Thank you. Yes, we are planning on it. So I'm planning on going live here. That is the plan. But if we change that plan, I will, of course, let everybody know. But I plan to be streaming. We're planning to be streaming here. If we're not streaming here, you know, maybe I'll be on someone else's channel. But we'll see. What's up? If not, we'll be here. Lady Ice says, Rob, it's not all about Lil Miss Abba, you know. Let us hear the other guy, too. She likes the other dude. Hey, who? That guy's a punk, by the way. He was flirting with Alina that one time like a year ago. From Newsmax. I remember that. we were making fun of that on Locals. Remember, he was like, they were sitting across from each other, and he was like, yeah, Alina, that's a really smart point. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm like, bro, we know what you're doing there, okay? Back off, buddy, okay? So anyways, no, we'll fast forward. We'll continue to fast forward. Hey, G-Nels says the obfuscated 423 transcripts are out. I'll have a PDF Google Drive link for you in 15 minutes. Man, G-Nels, you are the man. Now, can I pause on this one for a quick second? So G-Nels, if you're already hard at work on it, I have a copy. So something strange happened today. If you go to the transcripts, so here, let me just show you. Let's see if this has changed or not, because this morning we were looking for the Bragg transcripts. They said they were going to be out in, 24 hours from the conclusion of trial. So when you go to the New York website, here's what it looks like. They have People versus Trump. They have the transcripts now. Okay, great. Yes, I'm human. Okay, thanks. We already did this like 5 times today. Got it. Okay, so 424. We have a directory. Okay, here. So here's what happens. So here's what they've done to obfuscate our ability to read this stuff. This is the PDF, okay? And if they're all individually imaged. So this is a single PDF and you have to click next on every one, like a Kindle reader. Okay, so you can't just scroll a PDF like we're used to here. Now, someone sent me an email that actually had the full PDF. Okay, it was not broken down into various HTML files. And so where did you get this? I said, did they publish this first before they published this? He says, yeah, I downloaded it before they adjusted it, right? So in other words, they had the full file up there originally. And then somebody made the decision to make it more difficult to download the file. So we all have to go and use HTML to get it. Now, I can't mark this up with a red pen. I can't zoom in on it. I mean, I can. It's just an image. But then, it's not a PDF, in other words. It's just basically an image of the PDFs. So then I can click next, click next, click next. So you can't download the full PDF. It's wild. Yeah, you can't mark, you can't highlight it, you really can't use it. They say we're publishing it, but then they publish it in a way that's really unusable for most people. Like if you wanted to put this full thing into a chat GPT or something to get some analysis on it, whatever, you can't. Like you got to go through every single page. Apparently it's 143 pages. But my point is we had a nice friend out there this morning, who downloaded the full PDF before they changed the format. Why would they change the format? Because they don't want you to see it, clearly. So it is just, more government incompetence, not a surprise. That's why we can't have nice things, obviously. So Gmails, man, but you guys are incredibly smart. There we had so many people who were like, oh, let me just write a Python script. Like hackers, man, you guys are smart. I don't even know how that would work. See, everybody has already figured it out already. Yeah, it makes it unsearchable. Yeah. So I think people are figuring out how to scrape it. And my thought would be that somebody in the mainstream media would figure that out and they would compile this, but I don't think anybody's compiling it. I don't think that they want to read it either. So it's very curious why they're doing this, but thank you, Gnails, for the offer. 423 was out. Okay, so those are out now. So you're saying the new ones are out. So that's what you're saying. The new ones are out. So I think someone sent me, yeah, they're the new ones. Again, these are from yesterday. So again, page by page. It's crazy. And I don't know how many pages this one was, but why are they doing that? We know why. They don't want us to read it. Thank you, G-Nels. Very good stuff. We got Lady Ice. Says, what I can't believe is how rude and demeaning these judges are to Trump's attorneys. Is that normal for real court? No. I have seen it in My Cousin Vinny, but in real life, they can be. Like, I've had very biased judges, like frothing at the mouth judges. It's like they are all the epitome of angry, biased judge character in some B movie with the Three Stooges. Yeah, I've had some great judges, very fair, very smart, very sharp, very prepared, and I've had some terrible judges. They're just like anybody. So when you add in political bias and a $93 million payday for your daughter, that adjusts the dynamics a bit as well. Emax, what's up, Emax? Emax Tactical. Ooh, that sounds like a cool channel. Emax Tactical. Says the fundamental issue with this is Trump is playing a game that's inherently rigged. The 2024 election is going to be taught as either the restoration of America or the great American conspiracy pending the victor. Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in this statement, Emax. It's no matter what happens in this election, half the country is not going to believe it, I think, or they're going to consider the other side to be illegitimate. If Trump wins, they're going to say, we have a felon president. And half the country is going to be brainwashed into believing that. So he's going to be illegitimate from day one, which is probably part of the plan. Which is why these things, even if they don't matter, they matter, right? And that's why it's not only electoral interference, but it's also administrative interference if he ultimately ends up winning. And if Trump loses to Joe Biden, a demented, non-functional walking corpse, no one's going to believe that either, okay, that he's an actual president of our country. So we'll have another fill-in administration that will have, again, no legitimacy or credibility. So I think we're in a pretty precarious position, which is why I think it's important to get ready, be prepared, focus on yourself, your self-development, your family, your community, the developing skill sets, providing value in the way that you can, utilizing your unique ability. And that's going to lead us to identify other strong people in the world where we can latch our rowboats together and then sail to freedom. What's up, Emax? What's up, Caleb? Bringing in Alan P. A membo brought in courtesy of Caleb. Alan and Caleb in the house. Good to see you, Caleb. Thanks for that. This one from Just Rhonda. Bringing in Brian B. Jack's in the house. Randy's retired. Jason L. Mixel. Joshua E. CD. Don Boo. Valentine T. and Michael C. all in the house, courtesy of Just Rhonda. We got this one from Sandy. Says, Judge Cannon expressed great interest about the Woodward misconduct as well as why Jack helped the grand jury in D.C. She let this out now because she knows the immunity ruling is going to end her case anyways. She is cleaning up her own court before 6:30, the final Supreme Court day. Expect more house cleaning to come. That's a good take, Sandy. I like that. Yeah, I think presidential immunity, I think Trump has presidential immunity, and I think it's going to put to bed a lot of this stuff, and it's going to be the right call. But it's going to cause a serious ruckus. But I tend to agree with that. I think immunity is going to come back in favor of Trump. It should put this to bed. It should put the J6 case to bed. Honestly, it might put the Bragg case to bed. We'll see. Fani will continue on. But a lot of that, I think, is covered too. So, yeah, it's going to be a big one. Tomorrow's a big day. So we're going to hear what the justices have to say about it. Hey, G-Nels. So it's 154 pages. Okay, so 422 is about 100. Well, they were half days. That's right. Yeah, they were half days. So I was expecting about 400 pages for a full court day, has been our experience with trials. About 200 in the morning, 200 at night on average. You know, maybe like 180, 175 a piece, but good to know. All right, what's up? Lady Ice says, we could raid someone's stream, Rob. How exciting is that? I don't even know how that works, but it does sound exciting. Good old-fashioned raid. Do we get to keep everything we capture? Cowboy Rob says, can't Judge Cannon override the New York case and make Trump appear in Florida just to screw up New York's timeline? I mean, she could. I don't know that would cause a conflict. And, you know, I think it would be an unnecessary conflict. That would be Judge Cannon. Let me put it this way. Judge Cannon's not a piece of work. So she wouldn't do that, you know. She would actually just honor other courts and not try to weaponize the calendar against the defendant, but they have done that. So I don't know that it would be fruitful. And she doesn't have the authority to override New York. I guess I would say that. I think there was a decorum and a precedent that you would defer to the federal courts if you're a lower court, but this guy doesn't care about anything. He says Trump doesn't even need to go to his immunity arguments happening tomorrow. So Trump is scheduled to be in the Supreme Court tomorrow. And Mercan says, no, you're not. I'll see you in trial. So what's Cannon going to do? Hey, Larry S. May in the house. First super on a live stream, baby. Thank you for that, Larry. A nice one. Thanks for sending this one in, for being a membo. Grateful for your support and glad you joined us today. We got Object Class Keeter. If Trump wins the election, could he declassify any and all communications between the DOJ and Smith, Fani, and others so the cover-up is revealed before the trials continue? I would think so. Yeah. I mean, if he's now in charge of the executive branch and the DOJ, yeah, I would say, sure. Yeah. You put in a new AG who just says, we're going to investigate this and release everything. Enjoy. That would be so enjoyable. Hey, what's up? Stephen M says, okay, here's an old pro with the Recording Industry Act of America. You can't show a movie for audiences, even if you purchase the DVD, but see friends and family safe harbor. Ah, there's a good one. And I know there's some other modalities. Like I think if you do it on Twitch and you all have an Amazon account, you can all rent the same movie, like pay for it all yourselves, watch it all together. Stuff like that. And I know some other people, like I follow some other people who do movie nights and they kind of stream like the whole thing in there. Now, the other solution would be just to get something that's like open source, something that's already out there in the public, something like a free movie that's on YouTube that we can just watch. That's not like a Hollywood movie, right? Like if we wanted to watch Civil War like that, you know, that's going to be copyright protected up the wazoo. But if you watch a free movie or a publicly released documentary, I think you'd be okay watching that together. Good stuff. Thank you, Stephen, for the clarity on that. Teeny BB says, yay, a baby in a day. Woo, is that tomorrow? Oh, we're going to have a new baby tomorrow. Woohoo! Love you, Rob, and love our fellow watchers. Aloha. Good to see you, Teeny BB. Thank you for saying this. Very nice comments. Heart, American flag, nice flowers, and aloha to Teeny BB. And we'll see you tomorrow for our new baby. Hey, here's one from G Nels. Says, we're going to post the link to the 423 PDF in the comments. Man, you're the man. Thank you for that, G Nels. Smart. I don't know how you're doing that, but that's pretty cool. Here's one from Sandy. Says, someone needs to make a meme for Jay Bratt showing you must be this tall to prosecute Trump like a carnival ride. I love it. I love it. I think that's a good one. And he's like on his tippy toes. Pick me. Pick me. I like it. I'm not an artist, but kind of wish I were. Rob White says, I could paste each image into Google Translate. English to English, copy the text and paste it into a document. Would lose the formatting, but I could get it. It's good to see you, Rob. Yeah, and I'm not sure. I mean, I think if somebody could just scrape the image and then just, batch all the images up, then you could just print all the images. You just need something to scrape the images, assemble them, and then basically print them into a PDF. I think that would probably be the best way to do it. But I appreciate you trying, Rob. This one from Sandy says, Rob, can we create a new word like the left does? Not government incompetence anymore, but government miscompetence. Something like that. Government miscompetent. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to put it, no doubt. You're much more creative than I am, Sandy. So I like it. We'll keep working on it. We got this one from Michael, our newest supporter on the YouTubes, Michael B.E. Good to see you, Michael. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow on the members only stream. We got this one from Conroe over on Locals. What's up, Conroe? Says, let me try this again. Hopefully it's working now. If Trump is convicted, appeals, wins the presidency, can he be impeached on the prior conviction? So I think that the answer is yes on that. Yeah, I think the answer is yes. I think that if there's the political will to do it, I think that he could. Now, because it's the political question ultimately. It's if Congress decides to indict him in the House and impeach him, and then there's enough in the Senate, 2/3 in the Senate, then I think that they could do it. Basically on whatever they want. Because it's not a criminal conviction. It's just impeachment, saying somebody did wrongdoing and they should be removed from office. And I think that's a possibility, but the 2/3 threshold is the limiting feature on that. Like, it's got to be nearly unanimous. And I don't think there's political will to do that, especially if Trump wins again, because the Republicans should retake the Senate, I think, as it stands. What's up, Conroe? Thank you for the dono. Glad it worked. Being Still is on Locals. Thank you, Being Still. Says, I love all of your show, but my favorite is your dramatic readings. Sometimes I have a little bit too much fun doing those, but I kind of enjoy them too. I get all carried away and all into it. It's like time fast forwards when we're reading through these. I'm like, oh man, it's so wild. But it's a lot of fun Being Still. Thanks for saying that. It is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's wild. What's happening in these courts is so wild. Like, if I read through a regular court transcript, it'd be pretty boring, like, to be honest. Right? It's pretty boring. You read through this, objection, Your Honor. Well, it doesn't comply with the rules. It's mostly pretty boring, most cases. This stuff is maddening. It's out of control. So it's a lot of fun. It's also crazy, but it's a lot of fun. Hey, Lady Ice says, we should watch B and C movies, Mystery Science Theater style, and kibitz the whole time. I've never even seen that. Mystery Science Theater. Not even familiar. Via's Never Silent says, there won't be enough hour in the day during Trump's 4-year term to cover all the lawfare happening. That is for sure. Yeah, there's almost not enough time now. Imagine when he gets the presidency again. Hey, Sandy says, causing impression of illegitimacy in the presidency doesn't solve legitimacy in the commander-in-chief. Table is already being set for military significance in the future of stabilizing the U.S. with Governor Abbott's declaration of an invasion. So our government becomes incompetent. Maybe the military steps in. Stephen M. says, Google PDF image to text. PDF image to text. And maybe that'll scrape it all for us. Good suggestion there, Stephen. Thank you for that one. And Felix, our last one over here, says, Democrats have made 2024 an all or nothing. They have banked so much in these trials and the destruction of due process. It's either hubris or they already know the outcome. Not good for the ordinary everyday people, though. Everyday people, though, yeah. It feels like that. And the analogy that we've used is break glass in case of emergency. Like they're wrecking their own society. It's like, you guys know you're wrecking your own society, don't you? Like, you're going to have to live in this society again. The Republicans are going to take over, and then this pendulum's going to swing, and you're going to be very upset that you've done these things. You understand that? No. Trump is just really bad. No president's ever done anything this bad before, which is, okay, really? No president has ever used a non-disclosure agreement? No president or presidential candidate has ever paid for legal services that weren't actually legal services? Are you telling me Bill Clinton and all of his women never signed an NDA and nobody was silenced throughout that entire 8 years? Are you nuts? Hillary Clinton, same story with her. There's a massive double standard, and I think that they're doing this because they know this is it. If they lose this, man, they're in big, big trouble. So good to see you, Felix. Thanks for sending that one in, my friends. Let's say hello to our friends on X before we go over to Watching the Watchers. .locals.com for our members only after party. Let's see who's on Locals and who is joining us on X before we go to Locals. Who's here? What's going on? Fred Pedamonte says, if I'm not mistaken, only one person sent a super chat yesterday about Bratt threatening Woodward with the judgeship. I'm not sure who did that. Was that you? Danny says, you're talking about a real trial, not a movie, but what do we do with real life here? Bunch of memes over here. Oh my gosh. We have a bunch of memes over here. And my friends, this one, I don't know what's going on this one, but that's your boy right there. And here we got some, oh no, it's Alina. Oh no, what's happening over there? All right, so, oh my gosh. Okay, so that's from Glocky over on X. Danny McWilliams and another one from Raven Madness says, this is disgusting. It's good to see you, Raven Madness. And it's good to see all of our oh, the memes. You got to go check out the memes on X. Oh, they're just great. Glocky, where are these even coming from? Okay, I got to be careful with these. All right, so just hilarious. All right. So, my friends, that is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. Come and join us over there. We also have robertgovea.com and watcherlodge.com. And a reminder, we've got our meetup coming up. So if you're interested in joining, go to watcherlodge.com, RSVP. Vegas, baby. We're going to Trump Tower, Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas, June 29th. And if you want to come and attend another event there, like if you don't want to just, my point is, if you don't want to just come to, go to a watcher meetup, there's another fun event that's happening that weekend, Speakeasy Mastermind, which is Thursday and Friday. So if you're a business person, a networker, something like that, click this link right here and it'll take you to this Speakeasy Mastermind event. You can watch a video about it. What is it? Annual event in Vegas. Your boy's going to be there Thursday and Friday, and then we'll do the meetup on Saturday. So check that out if you want to. There's an early bird special that ends on the 30th. So if this is something you want to do, price goes up. I'm not affiliated with this at all, but they just, I'm part of a local chapter. I'm part of a local speakeasy chapter. This is the big annual event. it's a business trip, write it off as a business expense, talk to your CPA about it. But we'll be there, and then we'll see you on Saturday. If you want to join us, check it out, watcherlodge.com. It's going to be fun. Don't know what it's going to even be like, but we're going to figure it out. If you're interested, we'll see you there, and it'll be great to meet you, some of you. So we've got our mods and meme smiths, our friends K-Bean, Just Cause, Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zach Nichols, Janek, Dog Digger, Economy Pilot, and Donut Mind Me modding down the fort for us, along with Sleepy Dog Lee, Nathan N810, Geegum Geegum, and of course, Glocky McGlock in the house. And so come and join us at Locals on our members only after party, my friends. That is it for us on the day. We are going to leave it there. We're coming back early tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed. It's going to be like 7 a.m. West Coast, because oral arguments in SCOTUS start at 10 a.m. Might be even earlier than that. So we'll be back here to get started, my friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.